Oh, hey, Veronica, how's it going?
Oh, hey, Evan. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm alright, except I'm kind of sad because we go to a top business school, and from day one, I was taught that we were supposed to network and meet people, but for some reason, no one talks in the elevator. It's a perfect place to network and meet people. It's a small space, but no one really seems to. I think it has something to do with the culture and norms here. The business school here has a strong culture and values that are widely shared and very important. But from my perspective, this could be just the tip of the iceberg. I think people are competitive and don't share info. They act and dress very professionally and act kind of isolated, which makes sense since this is a business school is located so far from campus. I don't know. What should I do to inspire social change?
Wow, Evan, I really see your dilemma here. I think we should test to see if any of Cialdini's persuasion principles increase people's desires to talk in the elevator.
Ooh, Cialdini?
Someone say Caldini?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, Cialdini, I love his work.
Yeah, I really think you should explore the principles of reciprocity, social proof, consistency, scarcity, authority, and expertise. And liking. But realistically, let's narrow it down to the ones that would be most applicable to college students. I think you should do liking and connect everyone at the Keenan Flagler Business School as a community. I also think that you should do social proof because college students often feel like they want to fit in and follow social norms. Also include authority and expertise because many would describe the Keenan Flagler students as extreme rule followers and often easily persuaded by power and authority. Finally, maybe include scarcity because the semester is coming to a close, and I think that could be an effective way to motivate students.
Oh, how do I do that?
Well, I think you could make and tape signs illustrating one of the principles and then hang them in the elevator. You can observe several rides in the elevator with different principles and see which one creates the most positive effect.
Wow, that's a great idea. Thanks for being such a great friend and trying to make me feel better. It's nice to be surrounded by such a loving environment here at Keenan Flagler.
Yeah, totally. Come on, vamonos. Everybody, let's go.
Now let's pause and take a second to review. Who you just met was Evan and Radhika, and they talked about a big issue here at the business school. For some reason, people just don't talk in the elevator.
I was taught that we were supposed to network and meet people, but for some reason, no one talks in the elevator.
We think the root cause has something to do with the social norms and culture here at the business school, and Radhika had the great idea to utilize Cialdini's persuasion principles to try and entice people to talk in the elevator. The first principle we use is a liking principle, where we leverage the fact that people like those who are similar to them. We will also test social proof with this sign by planting 2 of our team members in the elevator and having them respond to the signs first. The third principle we use is the authority principle, where we make the claim that the majority of CEOs utilize the elevator to network. The fourth principle we use is the scarcity principle, where we note that there's only 2 days left in the semester to make friends at the business school. Now, let's check back in with Evan as he gets the project going.
Our hypothesis was that social proof would have the most positive reaction because undergrads are at such a formative time in their lives where they still tend to succumb to peer pressure and try to conform to social norms.
Now let's take a look at 2 variations of what our elevator rides looked like. Some were clearly more successful than others.
Hey, I'm Evan.
Hey, I'm Nikki. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Are you an undergrad here?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Drew.
Hi,
Nice to
I'm
meet you.
Rika. Nice to meet you.
You an undergrad too?
Yeah.
Great.
That video was a perfect example of the persuasion principles working well. This one didn't go over as smoothly.
Hey guys, I'm Drew. Another quiet ride up the elevator to the 6th floor.
Fast forward 30 plus elevator rides later, and it's time to take these signs down. Let's catch back up with the team to hear about what they learned.
Hey Evan, what's up? How's it going?
Yeah, I'm just testing a project for my 405 class. We're actually testing Cialdini's principles.
Wow, Cialdini, really?
Yeah.
He's my favorite, huge fan.
Yeah.
Tell me a little more about the results.
Sure, yeah, come on.
Overall, we learned a lot about networking in the elevator and what it takes to get people to talk in this space. We found that used correctly, the elevator can be a great place to build diversity of ties as undergraduates, graduate students, and faculty from different departments all ride together. While we didn't specifically witness it, we really think that there's potential to foster connections that go beyond the quick 1-minute ride, and even transfer to long-term advice networks where faculty provide career advice to students they might not have met otherwise. As we rode the elevator, we made sure to keep track of various types of data. This picture shows how we organized it. First, we made sure to test each principal twice, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. We also noted the total number of people in the elevator, distribution of males to females, and whites versus non-whites. We also paid attention to the number of undergraduate, graduate, and faculty members present. All of this data was combined, and our analysis stems directly from what we observed. Overall, the most effective principle was social proof, as people were inclined to follow the lead of others when they began talking. This was especially effective in the elevator because the sign posed an ambiguous situation for the riders. Should they introduce themselves to someone or not? Seeing 2 other people set the example provided enough convincing information for others to follow along. On the other hand, the least effective principle was authority. Out of 11 times this principle was tested, only 1 person spoke. The authority principle is based off the idea that people believe experts as they are viewed as knowledgeable and trustworthy. This was not effective in the elevator because it was difficult to establish expert status with a random sign and a statistic that had no contextual information provided. In addition to the most and least effective principles, we noticed some other trends in our data that focused around perceived power and status that we wanted to discuss. From our gender data, we noticed that significantly more males initiated conversations than females. Additionally, of all the people who got on the elevator, 63% were undergrads, 27% were MBAs, and 11% were faculty. However, only 18% of the time an undergrad initiated the conversation, while 46% of the time an MBA initiated the conversation. Clearly, our data showed that gender power dynamics and power dynamics based on status and hierarchy both existed here. We also noticed some trends around diversity and culture. While it was true that whites initiated more conversation than non-whites, our sample size was too small to draw any real conclusions. We also took note of people's moods. Of the principles we tested in the morning and afternoon, there was no significant difference in results based on mood, assuming those in the morning were more resistant to conversation than those in the afternoon. However, this might have also been because our sample size was so small.
Wow, interesting. Seems like you learned a lot, If you had to change anything next time going around, what would you do?
If we were to conduct this experiment again, there's a few things we would change. First, we would narrow down the principles. Second, we would test each consistently in the morning and the afternoon. Although our sample size found that there wasn't a significant difference between morning and afternoon, we still think that people's moods and energy levels will have an impact on their willingness to talk in the elevator. Lastly, we'd want to try out different locations around campus to see if the culture and norms of the business school actually does have an impact. Overall, networking is important, and while these persuasion principles helped some, there's still much to do to inspire conversations in the elevator.